And welcome everybody to Central Valley Today. I'm your host, Stephanie Bainham. Alex Delgado is off today. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and a big happy Friday to you. We're going to start today's show by talking about the ER. It's a place that no one wants to end up at, but if you do have an emergency, you also don't want to end up with an expensive bill. And today we are getting some expert advice from the inside with Dr. Manavjeet Sidhu, a resident physician in the Department of Emergency Medicine at UCSF Fresno. He's also sharing with us today some tips to help prevent those large ER bills. We are so glad you're here, Doctor. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me back.
So tell us about ERs, because I know you're in that world all the time. What does it feel like? What's going on there if people haven't been in a while?
Yeah, so for most of us, our first experience with modern healthcare is actually in the emergency room when we're experiencing a medical emergency. Now, for many people, these medical emergencies are unexpected, and once that medical emergency is taken care of, they're left with a hospital ER bill.
Yeah.
Now, many people don't actually budget for these things because, quite honestly, they're unexpected.
Right.
That initial medical emergency was unpredicted. As a whole, Americans have a hard time dealing with unexpected bills. If you took a survey today, 2 out of 3 Americans don't have enough saved up to deal with a bill that's $1,000 or greater.
Oh, man.
So that could be anything. That could be an auto repair bill, a hospital bill. But this is a rising problem.
And I know you've mentioned that the average ER bill is about $1,200.
Yes.
So that's scary for a lot of Americans because you don't know what to expect, and you think your health insurance might cover it, but not always the case. Can you talk about your first tip of understanding your insurance policy? That's something we need to know.
Yeah, so one of the first tips I have is understand your insurance policy. And the time to really understand your insurance policy is right now, when you're healthy and you're feeling good, not really in the time of a medical emergency, because at that point, you're in a lot of pain potentially, and even the insurance company's office may be closed. So I recommend that when you're feeling well, to call your insurance company and find out what hospitals, what ERs, what urgent care centers are actually covered in network within your insurance policy.
You're right. That's good to know before you have the accident.
Yeah. And if you have kids, you can never predict when they're going to get in trouble. So knowing that information beforehand is great. That's
great. So do some research, understand your policies, everybody. And then I like this point. Don't assume the ER is the right place for you. This is huge.
All right. Now that may be seeming weird coming from an ER resident, but many people believe that the only place that they can go to is the emergency room. When the truth of the matter is a lot of complaints can actually go to an urgent care or a primary care doctor. So there is a huge price gap. Like you said, there's ER visit is about $1,200, and now the average urgent care visit is about $100 to $200.
Very big difference.
Yeah, so that is one quick way to save money.
I think culturally too, some people misunderstand the ER, of course, is there, but it's not for, let's say, a cold or a little sniffles. I mean, you want to probably save that for the big stuff.
Exactly. So if you're thinking of going to the emergency room, think emergencies. So that's your chest pain, your shortness of breath, your nausea, vomiting, high fevers. I mean, the list is actually quite long.
Yeah.
For urgent cares, they're equipped to deal with more of the, like you said, sore throats, sprains. If you have a laceration to the hand, maybe you can get some stitches there. If you are having difficulty figuring out where to go, an urgent care or an ER, you can always call your primary care doctor and they can help you navigate the situation. But I really do want to stress that at the end of the day, if you're feeling concerned about yourself or a loved one, don't hesitate, just come to the emergency room. We really want to be there for you in your time of need. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We never close.
And you're going to treat people, the hospital's never going to turn you away. Of course you can go to the ER, but you just don't want to use that as your primary care doctor, your urgent care, just going in and out all the time, because that's going to, those bills are going to stack up. So another good thing, you say, how do you pick where to go? So maybe do some research once again about, okay, if I do have a cold, maybe I'm going to go to this urgent care versus the hospital's ER.
Exactly.
Got it.
And like you said, or I was saying earlier, the primary care doctor can also help you navigate that situation.
Perfect. And then know your medical history. Why do we need to know that?
All right, so that actually is something that can really help us out in the emergency room, particularly if it really is a severe emergency. It could really mean the difference between life and death, knowing a little bit of background about the patient. But in less emergent things, it can really help us order less tests. So that's less lab work, less x-rays, less imaging as a whole, because we don't really have to reinvent the wheel.
Right. I like that. And also maybe just helpful to know your blood type, keep that important stuff on your cell phone. The cell phones are so handy, you can just write some of your medical stuff down.
Exactly. There's a lot of free apps out there that you can download, and you can actually store a lot of the important medical information on there. Actually, most cell phones now come in with a built-in healthcare app that stores your information quite safely.
Perfect. And of course, you want to share that with your doctor. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but last but not least, your last point is check all your ER bills and insurance reports carefully. So when you do get that ER bill, go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yes, exactly. Just like any other industry, hospitals can also make errors when it comes to the bills. It's kind of like when you get your credit card bill at the end of the month. Go through it and see if there's any errors that were made. There are actually professionals out there that can help you go through these ER bills or just hospital bills in general, and can actually not only negotiate if there is an error on your behalf to the hospital, but just look at it as a whole for you.
This is wonderful tips. Thank you so much for keeping us all safer and healthier and helping to save us some money. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, doctor.